Hello, welcome back to my Ikoku Nikki, episodes 10 and 11 today. 11 just came out yesterday, obviously I'm catching up after being away with 10 as well, doing a double episode a day as well as what I did for the last two episodes. And then, obviously the next two episodes after that will just be on their own as they come out for the final 2 weeks there. I mean, last time we finally had acceptance from Asa's side. And it seems she's now sort of moving on somewhat from her grief and dealing with her as a person, having an identity crisis, and maybe because she's been so wrapped up in this grief that she's struggling to now find herself within all of that, now that it's sort of passed a little. So yeah, let's just see where this goes. Double episode today. Let's not waste any time. Episode 10. Let's go.
落ち着いたの？
いやー、ひとまずね。
とりあえずお疲れ様。
いや、それがさ、ちょっとぐらい愚痴ってもいいか。
あら珍しい。
弱音を吐く人になったんだよ、俺は。
どうぞ。
あの頑強な親父が倒れるとは、そりゃびっくりもしたんだけど。それ以上に何が参ったって、すっげえ偉そうにしやがってさ、病院の人たちに。
号気が大丈夫？それ聞かれない？
大丈夫だよ、外だから。いやあはなりたくないと思ったね。看護師さんに「おい!」とか言っちゃって、倒れてなお嫌なやつだとはほんと呆れた。
そっか。
まあ無事な証拠でもあるんだけどさ。
笠町くん、ゆっくりでも解けるといいね、あなたの呪縛。
お互い。
They're so great.
まあ良きところを次。
呪縛。呪縛。
Hey, Emily.
エミリー、スープは？
食べる。パンはいい。
自分で持ってって。高校生なんだから。
はーい。
パパ、新聞しまって。エミリー、お弁当忘れないでね。
はーい。
マキオさんもお弁当大変だって言ってたわね。小説家だと徹夜も多いのかな。
知らない。この前遊びに行ったら昼間からビール飲んでて受けた。
ママもやりたい。
Interesting commentary on the telly.
その言い方がすでにセクハラなんだけど、今も昔も。
Interesting.
いつもの通学路、人並み、走る子供、白い息、自動販売機のココアとポスターが笑う。いや、自転車、電車、社会見学、雲、モモンガが
Yeah. Deep for that.
呪縛。しりとりになっちゃった。エミリー。
Oh, it's the one that looks like Makio
チッチ
that we saw like ages ago.
チッチチヨチッチとは科学が一緒なの。
エミリーは来年理系クラスでご一緒だからね。
ご一緒って。
エミリー理系にするの？
なんだかんだね。てかエミリーって。
英語風。
相談してたんだ。理系だからチッチ。
私医者になるから。
う
ち両親とも医者だからさ。
すごいよね。
カエルの子はみたいでなんだけど、ね。
Yeah, it feels a bit of an obligation
じゃあね。
to do so.
さくらおはよう。ねえ、数学いきなり小テストだって。
言ってたよ去年。
覚えてね。 死ぬ気で走る野球部が走る。
マジ早すぎでしょ。あ、来た来た。ちょっと聞いて。篠崎今橋場と付き合ってんだって。やっば。
Don't think she cares.
何そのリアクション。
だってどうでもいいし。
あんなにエミリに言い寄ってたんだよ。切り替え早くない？
いいよ、別に好きじゃないし。
やばい、余裕がえぐい。うるさい。
始めるぞ、席つけ。
同じ心ならん人としめやかに物語して
Very quiet episode so far. It's nice.
裏なく言い慰まんこそ嬉しかるべきに去る人あるまじければつゆたがわざらんと迎えたらただ一人なる。
みんな森本に習って。
It's nice like tapping into both of them as they're sort of
の人テストは
finding themselves a bit.
空は曇天。
テストどうだった？やばい、全然勉強してなかった。俺も。
なりたい自分になりたいの。なりたい自分になりたいの。なりたい自分になりたい。
え？マジで？ああ、今日って何日？
ただいま。
ああ、まあいいや。それは何日？あ、いや、覚えてないですよ。覚えないけど。わかった。本人に聞いてみる。彼女は第一で。あのさ、
ただいま。
おかえり。あのさ、そろそろ。いや、そっか。
何？
あなた、誕生日いつ
？9月4日。
Oh, we passed it.
ごめん、完全にスルーしてた。
なんかマキオちゃんのもやらないみたいだし、そういうのはスルーするしきたりなのかな。
Just not a thing.
そんなしきたりはない。てか私のはいいのよ。大人には飲み食いする口実がいろいろあるんだから。ごめん、今年はやろう。私のもあなたのも。それからスルーしちゃった去年の分も共同生活1年お疲れ様会に変えて何かやろう。
おお、はい。
それともう一つ、これが本題なんだけど、ご両親が亡くなってからももうすぐ1年になる。
Yeah.
もしそれに際してあ
Wonder
な
if
た
we'll
がや
visit
りたいことがあるならそれも
a grave or something.
やりたいこと。
何でもいい。お墓参りとかお坊さんを呼んでくるとか、そういう多くの人がやるようなことでもいいし、ただ私や誰かと話をするとか。
Yeah, anything that you
まあ
feel
何でも。もちろん
you feel
何も
doing.
したくないというのもあり。
Yeah.
考えといて。いつでもいいから。
はーい。
今日はありがとね、ジュノさん。楽しかった。
ガス抜きになったんなら何より。まあ大変だね、突然のガキンチョは。
まあね。
犬みたいだったな、シバ。
Yeah, I think I said someone else did say that.
まあ彼女が大学に入るか成人するか、とりあえずそれまでだから、あと数年は頑張るよ。
広大さん、それは甘くない？
え？
私なんてもういい年だけどさ。
Mm.
母の前では。
Yeah, this is a serious relationship they're establishing here. Like,
だからあの子も
it's not just gonna be as simple as
親でも娘でもないんだけどさ。
seeing her off after she becomes an adult.
でもだとしてもさ、何かあるんじゃないかな。 大人になったその先
Yeah, for sure.
きっとずっと悪魔の契約みたいなもんじゃない？言い方はあれだけど、いつまでとかここまではなんてそんなきっぱり追われるもんではないと思うよ。
そうか。そうだね。
そうだよ。
あ、そうだ。ジュノさんに一つお願いがあったんだ。
何？怖いんだけど。
前に見せてくれたジュノさんの小さい頃の写真、あれデータで送ってよ。
え？なんで？
大好きなの、あれ。お願い。スランプ脱出のためにね。
スランプ関係なくない？やだ
お願い。ああ、かわいい。永久保存もった。
Oh.
だとしてもさ、何かあるんじゃないかな。大人になったその先もきっとずっと。
お姉ちゃん、お母さんが写真撮るって。また？早く。
It's quite a lot to think about, isn't
だ
it?
って1年ぶりじゃ
お
ない。
姉ちゃん早く。
負けをふざけるんだもん。いいじゃない。大人になって見返した時にありがたいと思うわよ。
What if she's thinking if she wants to take more pictures?
死にたくなかっただろうな。
Hmm.
たくみたくみたくみたくみ、ビッグニュース。
About the band?
何何？
聞いた？ 4月軽音部で新入生歓迎の校内ストリートライブやるんだって。
Hey, nice.
どこで？
中庭のコンコース。
へえ、すごいね。
そうじゃない。
そのボーカルをオーディションで決めるんだってさ。
Go for it.
だから
俺たちも受けようぜって話。巡ってきたんだよ、チャンスが。
いいじゃん、どうせアコギ一本だし。新体制の一発目、全体を思いっきりシャッフルする感じで。応募条件はなし。
でも歌詞はまだオリジナルの歌詞。
She reminds me a bit of
いらないいらない。
Nana.
既存の曲でいいみたい。
得意なやつぶちかまそうぜ、たくみ。
ね、朝ちゃん。
なあ、俺たちもさ、オリジナルで勝負してみね。
あんたそれ本気で言ってる？
Maybe she just cares about the writing side of
いつま
things
でもそ
rather
の他
than
大勢でいたくねえんだ。
the performing.
オリジナルね。
だったら私、
うん
歌詞考える。曲作る才能はないけど歌詞なら多分なんとか。おばさんも小説なんて誰でも書けるって言ってたし。
いや、それは嘘でしょ。
よし、じゃあ俺も考える。出し合えば一曲ぐらい。
やだ、じゃあ私もやる。置いてかないで。
よし、じゃあ宿題な。なんかこれ流れ変わる気がする。
頑張ろう。
よし、やるぞ。
Sweet.
おお。
何だったんだ。呪縛。
Hmm. That section got me a little emotional for some reason.
模試やばいんだけど。
私も。
結局さ、いい大学に入ったところでって話でしょ。
ね、女が勉強できたってさ、どうせ結婚するし。
マキオさんが聞いたら綺麗そう。
Yeah.
いや、無視か。相手にする価値もない。
But this sort of stuff is getting to her, it seems. Yeah.
ちゃんごめん。書類の提出で引っかかっちゃって。
What's that
お
voice?
待たせ。先帰っちゃうとこだった。ごめんって。
It's kind of Hannah, right?
マジ厳しくない？女子校ってそんなもんだよ。あ、おや？いや、友達前に話した。幼なじみ親が死んじゃった。ああ、かわいそうだよね。なんか全然想像できない。なんていうか家族ごと仲良くしてたし、家に泊まりに行ったりもしてたからさ、私もかなりショックで。ショックだったんだけど、なんかさ、思っちゃったんだ私。
Wow.
もう絶対友達やめられないじゃんって。
Curse, hey.
だ
Interesting.
よね。今でもたまに思うし、な
Huh.
んか重くて。でもやめてないんでしょ友達。やめてないじゃんミリちゃん。やめるつもりもないし、たまにすっごいムカつくけ
It's just
ど。
those sort of thoughts that creep
友
in.
達だもん。
Makes you
優し
question.
いよミリちゃんは。優しいよ。私はいいと思う。そういうとこ好きだよ。
Aww.
もっと言って。厚かましくない？厚かましいとかある？
Cute. Okay. I'm so happy for Emery. Look at that face, man. God, gorgeous. This episode has been really just quietly gorgeous. I know I say that a lot about Ikoku Nikki, but I don't know. There's a real subtlety to this episode.
なんじゃないの？そうだろうけど。
And the general like tone of it.
なんで返事しないの？
しない時もあるですよ。する時もある。
またそういう。で、なんでしないの？
なんでって、静寂を守りたい時もあるでしょ。
静寂。それって寂しくない？って寂しくないんだろうけどさ。
分かってきたじゃない。
わかんない。
Well, the soundtrack
静
is.
寂って砂漠みたいじゃない？
人によるでしょう。草原とか森とか山とか海かも。
呪縛。
お疲れ様。どうだった？
楽しかった。
残念だったわね。
What did the dad say then?
別に私勝ちたくてやってないもん。
そうなの
Does he
お
not
昼どうしようか。
seem to care or like?
ねえ、お父さんはどうだった私の歌。
あーさ、痛い。引っ張らないで。
ああ、なんだか目立ってたね。
何それ。
おとなしくしてればいいのに。玉城さんいるだけで目立つんだから。
Interesting.
嫌いな感じ？玉城さんのこと。
なんで？違うよ。悪目立ちしない方がいいのにって話。せっかくいじめられなくなったんだから、いつまた立場が変わるかわかんないし。
そっか、そうだよね。
吉村、急げ。また先輩が切れんぞ。なあ、俺だけ当たりきつくね。期待のエースだからだろ。 なんだそれ。
受けないのオーディション。
うん、受けない。
なんで？
だって怖いじゃん、目立つのって。
人前で歌うなんてもううひ
Stick to the writing.
ー。なぜそんな人間がバンドを？
だからベースなの。とにかく受けない、私は。
朝ちゃんいけると思うんだけどな。
じゃあ放課後。この頃私は探し歩いていた。怒るのにも飽きたのだと思う。
Go a bit numb to it.
喉が渇いた。私は私の孤独に水をやるべきだろうか。そうすれば見つかるだろうか。私の探すべきものが。
何これ？こんなことあっていいわけないじゃん。チオ？
私もいくらいい点取っても女って理由で不合格にされんの？はあ？信じらんない。なんで今まで誰も正してこなかったの？
That's crazy.
許せない。絶対に許せない。
目が離せなかった。
Yeah, that was a very quiet episode. Similar to the last one, I feel like, where we're just tapping in to different characters and having Asa just sort of observe other people in order to help herself sort of find herself. Similar to the last episode, I can't say I have too many initial thoughts on it. Other than, like I did mention, the overall sort of just tone and atmosphere and I guess vibe. I use it a lot, but it's quite a vague word, vibe. But the sort of feeling the episode gives you was really strong. One of those. I don't mean to sort of downplay other episodes because they're all very well put together, don't get me wrong, but this one feels particularly well directed in terms of evoking this sort of melancholy and confusion almost. Like, it had a wandering sort of vibe to it, as we're seeing with Asa obviously, but that feeling really came across to me just through the visuals, the audiovisual experience. It's interesting how we build off these threads as well. In the last few episodes we've had Kasamachi talk about his father. It's sort of escalated to this now where he's now in hospital and obviously still caring for him and still visiting him. And then we kind of go back to Makio and Makio thinking about, once Asa is an adult and can leave home, like that's kind of, I'll just do my best until then. But no, like these things are lifetime contracts, almost lifetime deals with the devil, as Juno said. As we're seeing here with Kasamachi and his father, well, they have a bit of a rocky relationship, it seems. And his father may not have treated him too well, and we're seeing sort of his attitude in the hospital as well that is upsetting Kasamachi. That contract still stands. Kasamachi still has that attachment and it's that balance between a very genuine attachment and an obligation of him being your father. Obviously we don't know much about Kasamachi, we're just kind of implying things here, but it's that balance that it feels like Makio is beginning to understand as well. And it's hard to put into words the sort of lifetime relationship that Makio and Asa will be establishing, and it's not just something that will just be forgotten about or will pass over after a certain period of time. Asa is with Makio during her core years of like development, and especially just going through the grief and everything. But aside from that, just being in high school, finding herself, learning about the world, like there's no way a guardian during that time would just be sort of forgotten obviously, unless it's due to sort of more extreme reasons. This is a relationship that will go on a lifetime, as here with Kasamachi and his father. And then we also then jump back to Asa and her father. We get maybe the first line of dialogue from, well, I suppose apart from when we see Asa's father speak to her mother about not getting married or getting a divorce. I can't remember which one it was. But that whole thing with them two. This is the first time I think we've seen Asa's father speak to her. And it was a very vague, sort of flat statement. It was a bit blunt. I don't blunt isn't the right word, but it was just a bit devoid of anything really meaningful. I think Asa's maybe looking back on that and picking up on it now a bit more, based on her reaction at the time. I'll get to it when we get to it, but yeah, we see the hint of it here, and we see him say something, and I think we see her smile at. I don't know if it was before we see that. Tapping into Emery as well. Obviously, get this whole thing here is, oh, Kojima-san's actually a scientist, and then the president is like, oh wow, it's nice to see a scientist so pretty, and look at her clothing underneath the white coat, and it's like, it's eye-rolling stuff. And it's funny because the dad like laughs at it, like, he does the whole, that would be considered sexual harassment, and it's that sort of that comment in particular that's considered this in this day and age is very you get that with a lot of adults and older people towards things these days, where it is where they acknowledge it but don't really. It's a suggestion there that they don't particularly agree with it. Maybe that changing of the times, the whole, oh, that would be considered offensive these days. Like, you can't say that these days, and instead of just saying, oh, that's sexual harassment, it's, oh, that would be considered sexual harassment in this day and age, and it's a bit of a snide comment. And then Emery's like, I say that comment itself is harassment. It's like, yeah, like that sort of outlook is not like, it doesn't come from a positive place. It doesn't come from a meaningful sort of, oh, this person's, is this sexual harassment? I don't agree with this. It's just like, oh, well, I guess society would consider this sexual harassment these days, and it's like, it's a weird comment. And Emery just commented, it's interesting that the dad sort of just kind of stands down here. I was expecting maybe a bit of tension or conflict between the two, or him to maybe bite back, but it is again sort of the dads in the show sort of not having real roles, not having real personalities. I really think this sort of reaction from him is really interesting in the whole grand scheme of the show and what it's been going for. Yeah, because I feel like in a lot of other shows you'd have the dad maybe snap back and there'd be drama and tension there and a whole sort of argument. But this one he's just kind of like shrivels back down. It's like, oh, yeah. And we don't get anything more. He doesn't suffer any consequences from that. It's really interesting. And then we got Asa sort of tapping into her writing side here. Just sort of, I mean, she feels he's taken sort of the advice she's gotten from other people very literally here. She is sort of looking around and commentating on things, writing stuff down, like really, really like feeling and thinking things. That makes sense. It's interesting to see her just sort of go through this process. And I was wondering if there was jealousy here. I'm not too sure. I can't particularly tell with Asa. If it was like, I don't know, I haven't really seen her get jealous over sort of friends or anything like that yet. But I can see why she would be. But she seems pleasant. I forgot her name. She had a weird name. Or nickname. But she seems pleasant enough. Asa seems to like her, so maybe there's nothing there. It's interesting, we do see this sort of just detachment from memory repeatedly about romance, and then we get to that scene with that girl. I don't know her name. I don't know if we got her name, but yeah, we get this commentary about like fitting in and just kind of saying whatever and just trying to do whatever you can to fit in, yet feeling alone. And we have Emery just obviously fiddling and thinking about that. I do like it when we have these sort of overlapping commentaries that aren't actually in the scene, like that the character isn't interacting with that what's going on, but it absolutely is commentary on what is happening in the show in the characters' heads. It's very unsubtle. It's something that anime likes to do a lot, but I do like it. Gee, I wonder if we will visit a grave or anything. I feel like there probably isn't much that Asa's thinking that she wants to do now, just because it's an anniversary, maybe. Again, more like time-related things. We have the birthdays that Makio missed, and obviously the anniversary of the death. And now we get onto this conversation where she's like, "Oh, just a few more years and it'll be up." And I do like this, this whole realization that Makio sort of has, and it's similar to Emery in that she was never expecting to just kind of walk out of Asa's life or just leave her. That's not what she's sort of implying. It's she doesn't realize the extent and the sort of meaningful relationship they're establishing right now. She doesn't really. Maybe it's more of just a thing of not looking in the long term enough, or looking at the long term meaningfully enough, to sort of realize how important it will be. The show's really like effortless at going into flashbacks, like this scene here. We just have Maki looking at her phone, and she just turns around and we have a flashback starting on the other side of the door. Really cool. The show constantly does stuff like that as well. These episodes are very nice. They're pleasant. Like it gives you a lot to think about, and it's not too heavy-handed or like I'm not feeling emotionally overwhelmed right now or anything, because obviously it is a very quiet episode compared to some of the previous stuff we've had. This for me is where the episodes, it's not where the show shines, but the show just kind of quietly shows off its like core qualities. Nothing major or like, I don't want to say important, because obviously important stuff happened, but nothing sort of major plot beat wise happens this episode. But it feels a lot. It feels like there's a lot here and a lot going on despite that. Yeah, we see a smile here and we don't get the actual thing until a bit later. And again, the patriarchal society, whole thing coming in, Emery sort of feeling maybe a bit, I don't know what the word would be, a bit, I don't know if fed up is the right word of it. She maybe feels fed up that she isn't fitting in, and there's frustration in that she's not fitting in, but not wanting to fit in either, given what she would have to fit into. And having like Emery sort of this whole thing going on with her, and then Asa sort of witnessing, I forgot her name, the schooled one who looks a lot like Makio. Asa sort of witnessing that frustration and that passion, that like clear desire and passion and intent from someone. Like there's a lot of intense emotions there, Asa's unable to sort of feel those about anything, it seems. There's nothing she has that sort of... There's nothing she's able to direct those emotions towards or feels that way about in general. Muni, yeah, I didn't notice the Muni-chan, this cute little nickname. I don't think we got a name for her. But this whole thing was very cute. Also learning how Emery found out as well. Really crazy. Just dead. My parents, I don't know what to do. And it's interesting in that moment, she felt like, oh, I can't quit being her friend now. It's a really interesting way to think, and it's not... I don't think it's an abnormal way to think at all, and I don't think she means that at all in a bad way. It's more like... I really don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how... But it feels very real, that sort of line of thinking. And I don't think there's anything bad in thinking that either. Yeah, I really don't know how to explain those sort of thoughts. But they are the kind of thoughts that do creep in occasionally, and it, one, makes you maybe question your relationship with a person, and it, two, makes you question yourself and your own sort of personality and moral compass even. Like, they are the kind of thoughts that make you think, oh, why the hell am I thinking that? Like, isn't that terrible? Like, but it's Emery's actions that are more important. She hasn't quit being a friend, and like she says, she has no intention to. Let me get this. This is really cute, really sweet. Like, it's cool we've had this just going on in the background without us knowing about it until now. I was kind of questioning, I think the show was also kind of suggesting that maybe Emery might be ace, or obviously not interested in heterosexual romance and that sort of more society accepted sort of romance and romance talk. There was that whole thing that the show was establishing with Emery, but now it seems to be we're showing that, yeah, this is what it is. It's not her being ace or anything like that. Yeah, that whole sequence was really beautiful. I don't know what about it. I don't know the sort of feelings it evokes. There's a real calmness that Emery has here. Obviously, she expresses that smile, that sort of face you can only sort of make speaking to someone you love. But she looks out the window. It's just calm. The moonlight shining on the ocean. The train passing by. The lighting. It's very calm. It's very serene. It's clearly this place Emery's found herself in with that girl is where she feels like she belongs, maybe, and I feel like that train scene maybe sort of exemplifies that. And again, it's Asa sort of figuring out her own loneliness and trying to adjust it, or maybe not adjust it, but compare it against others. It seems she doesn't maybe do that in as much of a negative way now, but it's more just her like thinking about it, just being like, huh, so that's how you feel. Like, how do I feel in comparison? Yeah, and then we get this, we do get this actual flashback here. And the dad's obviously showing a very detached sort of thing in general. We don't see his eyes. I think maybe until he looks down. No, not even then. Not even then. We don't see his eyes at all. He's on his phone, not even paying attention to her, really, until she goes out of her way to ask. And it's a very typical sort of reply from a child, like, what does that mean? Ha ha ha. And obviously not going to think anything of it. And it seems like now Asa's sort of thinking back on that. But not just in terms of her dad's reaction and how he maybe feels towards her, but the concept of standing out maybe is something she realises she doesn't want to do. Or maybe she does realise that's not something she wants to do, is stand out. And it's just interesting watching her watch other people who are different to her, similar to her, have parts that are similar, parts that are different. Like we get this scene here. I do like this line about watering her loneliness. Like, will that help? Is it? And is there a line between, like, what does that entail? Is that her indulging too much in the loneliness? Is that her accepting or embracing it? What does that mean? It's a really interesting line. And we get this final scene, a really like powerful scene to sort of end on. Is Chio, that's her name. Let me get the translation. There it is. Yeah, fucking crazy. That sort of thing. Obviously still happening. I know this is set in 2018, but like even today, obviously not far off at all. And she's trying to become a doctor as well, as we heard, and she's like, this is so much. It's interesting though, because we know she wants to become a doctor, but she mentioned how she's only doing it because it's what her parents or family do, and she feels maybe an obligation to do so. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting her not to feel like sort of passionate and bad about this, but I wonder if whether this will deter her from going in that field, whether it will maybe fire up even more to sort of enter that field and change it and make a sort of a point about that. It's interesting, because then there's the whole thing that if she becomes a doctor, it's just her against what she obviously wanted to do. If we didn't have this context of this scene, it would just look like her conforming to that familial societal sort of norm, is just following what your parents do and doing things out of obligation rather than what you want to do. Yet with the context of this scene, her becoming a doctor becomes really important and becomes really empowering. I think it's really interesting how much this scene would do for, obviously, if we end up seeing her as a doctor or whatever. Obviously it's not an important point, it's whether she becomes a doctor or not at this point, is how she feels about what's going on here. She seems to be more passionate about the discrimination and that whole thing going on, rather than it being about doctors. And having Asa observe it and being like, wow, I couldn't look away. This is like seeing that sort of passion and fire and intensity. And it's really interesting episode. There's a lot of things that I feel like I struggled to put into words here with this episode and what it's trying to convey, especially from Asa's side. Just her being this observer this entire time is really interesting. I wonder where we're going to go with that and what that sort of means for her character. But luckily we have another episode to get into, so let's just get straight into episode 11. Came out yesterday, and then it'll be caught up, so I'll see you there.
何これ、こんなことあっていいわけないじゃん。チオ、信じらんない。なんで今まで誰も正してこなかったの。許せない、絶対に許せない。
What a great scene.
Oh.
Looks like Kasamachi.
やっぱり来てないの
However.
森本。
チオ、
あいつに返したいんだけど、これ
LINE は
知らない。ここでしか話さんから。本の貸し借りしてんだけど。
知らないの、先週のこと。
ねえ、これ可愛くない？
ああ、おぎちゃん好きそう。
もう言い方いいじゃん。
やばいけるって全然いける。
仕方とか 篠崎態度悪くない？
知らね
結局別れたらしいよ、橋場と。
え。マジで知らねえ。
いいって。
千代は偉大志望だったから。だからまあそんな感じ。折れたっぽい。それから来てないよ学校。教える？千代の LINE。
え、お、うん。
ほらな。
むきゃ。
ぶね
大丈夫？
謝れよ。
は
あ？謝れって言ってんの。
てか、たくみむぎゃっつった。むぎゃはねえわ、むぎゃは。
いいから謝れっつーの。
可愛くねえな。
いや、ハリハリ。
My face.
謝れっつーの。
うぜえ。
やめる。なんで？逃げんのか。そんなもんだったんか、お前の野球。
それってさ、
Really interesting
目つけられて、
perspectives
腹パンされて、走らされて、
I'm getting here.
土下座させられて、それでも黙って耐えんのが俺の野球ってこと？じゃあ。
Acceptance to be played about.
最近は何かあった？
特にないんですけど、あ、夜寝てるとき足がビクってなるじゃないですか。
ああ、なりますね。
あれって
自分は夏目さんに好かれたかっただけなんで。
空虚なやつだな。はあ、なんだこいつは。
何が？
テレビ見てたんでしょ？
見てないと思ってた。
片目で見てた。あ、日記忘れてた今日。
あ、いや。
ちゃんと閉じていくようになったんだなって感慨深いものがありましたよ。
何それ
？When you start getting serious about that kind of thing, don't want other people to see it.
空虚なやつ。
何それ、原文？
あ、いや、個人的なメモなんだけど、おばさんの悪口語録をね。
は？悪口語録？見たい。そんな悪口言う人なの、おばさ
ん。なんかたまに言うやつが強くて。
船舶、知識や考えが薄く薄っぺらなこと。きっつ。邪悪？ウケる。いつ言うの邪悪とか。
なんかニュース見て言ってた。
睾丸、
愚劣、
卑怯、
猛前
って何？
なんて言ってたっけ？
姑息、陰険、悪辣。はあ、悪口のタバコじゃん。
一個思い出した。
何？
醜悪！
言われたら立ち直れないかも。醜悪とか空虚とか。
だよね。
There's a real interest on Master in like this vocabulary and words and meaning.
お父さん、お母さんが髪型にケチつけるんだよ。せっかく切ったのに。
だって男の子みたいじゃない？
ねえお父さん。だからお母さんがこの髪型気に入らないの。
まあ朝の好きにすればいいんじゃないか。良識の範囲内で。
Jesus, man. Yeah. That's when she thinks about. Interesting.
いない。もういない。もう。
昨日変な夢見ちゃってさ。
マジどんな夢？
あ、森ちゃんおは
よ。そのサモエドがさ。
サモエド？
見てあれ。ほらあれ。
That's cute.
何その浅い返事。 朝とは恋話しないって言ったよね。
やだ、してよ、して。てかもうすぐバレンタインじゃん。ないのエミリは。誰かにバレンタインないの？
ないよ。今年も朝に友チョコあげる。
イエーイ。てか私もバレンタインやりたい。
マキオさんは？マキオさんにあげればいいじゃん。
絶対興味ないでしょ、あの人。
学園ものとかだとどうしてもそこは避けがたいですよね。
年末には考えてなきゃいけませんしね。
すみません、いつも一方的にいただくばかりで。
いえいえ、どうぞ召し上がってください。この時期チョコ買います？
買いたいけど人混みが。
ですよね。
でもメイがあげたいけどあげる相手がいないとか言って。
めいっ子ちゃんいくつでしたっけ？
間もなく高2。好きなんですよ、その手の話が。めんどくせったらありゃしない。
いい刺激ですね。
まあその日は幼なじみにチョコ作るから。
付き合ってんの？
いや、それはねえわ。ホワイトデーにケーキ作ってもらえんの、そういう取引。
いいな。
ちょ、揺らすな。匠の分も作ろっか。その代わりホワイトデーね。揺らすなって。
なんか買ったの？
お茶、限定の煽りにつられて。
君土産にお茶持ってったら喜ぶ？
いや、好みが強いんで。ベーシックなやつならま
あ。だよな。バカだと思われたく
I love the track that they use quite a lot. It's a fun one.
よかった、聞けて。
会社員って昼間外に出られるの？
もちろん。だって今昼休みだよ。
今3時だよ。
ねえ、かわいそうだよ。食う？
いや、ただうまそうに食べるなって。
そんなに見られると恥ずかしいんだが。
早くあったかくなんないかね。
聞いてねえよ。こんな風に一緒に飯を食える日が来るとは思わなかった。1年前は。
ね。もう1年。まだ1年。
ねえ。
あ？
朝ちゃんは？
見てない。
チョコの準備するから月曜はダメ。
俺を？
調子乗りすぎ。友達に作るし、余ったらあげる。
よっしゃー。
めっちゃ喜んでるし。
楽しみ
お静かに。
ごめんなさい。
これあなたに。笠町くんから。
チョコだ
うるさ。こっちがあなたので、こっちが私の。これは編集さんから半分こね。そんなに感動した？
大きさ違わない？
I like how like simple
って言ってたよ。
as it can be at times.
マキオちゃんは？マキオちゃん何あげたの？
あげないよ。
は？
先週あげたな。面白い本。
それバレンタインじゃないじゃん。
私に人並みの感情や習慣を求めるのが間違い。
それ開き直りじゃない？
違うね。己を知ってるんだね。
Yeah, jealous of
世
that.
界中で私だけ恋してないみたい。
Of a person or a hobby or anything.
朝、誰もが必ず恋するわけではないよ。
That is true.
それが不幸なわけでもない。
Yeah.
嘘だ。
嘘じゃない。世の中にはいるの。
They're so cute.
恋を必要としない人も。
それ
私に関係ないじゃん。
ありますよ。世界中で自分に関係ないことなんてない。少なくともそれが恥ずかしいことでも何でもないと知る
Well,
こと
there's
は
Maki mentioned romance there.
全然わ
There's
か
a
ん
difference
ない。
between romance and love.
考えろ。
It's interesting.
考えろ考えろ。
Go back to that.
なんかさ、わくちゃんって。いや、いい。着替えてくる。
あんたほんと考えすぎっていうか繊細すぎ。気取ってるの？
かもね。
たくみ、
Hey.
約束のブツ。
カンちゃん嬉しい。
やめろ、大声出すの。
ありがとう。
忘れんなよ、来月。
ねえ、森本さんって今日もみたい。
Just listening.
進級できんの？
平気だよ、学年トップだもん。
あのニュース見た？
ああ、女子だけ入試の点引かれてたやつ。
頭にくるよね。どんな風に戻ってくるんだろう。
触れづらいよね。
考えろ。世界中で自分に関係ないことなんてない。
That's such a good line. This reminds me of Look Back when
ただいま。
the sort of the isolation and the colour that shot of the classroom expanding.
はじめまして、マッツでーす。
あ、はじめまして。
大悟とかと同じ仲間。
よろしくね
はーい。
ねえ、これとこれどっちがいい？
水色。
だよね。
何？
サイン会で着る服決めてあげてるの。
え、サイン会？すごい。
ねえ。
見せ物よ、見せ物。
もうすぐそういう。
これは？
ああ、着てみて。
お。
それさ、下から着るのが正解じゃない？
そんな感じするな。ああ、腕つりそう。朝あげてくれる？ファスナー。
はーい。
もう一人じゃ着らんないね。朝ちゃん頼みだ。
あがった。
サンキュー。
あ、いいじゃん。
じゃあこれで行こっかな。
サイン会ってさ、大勢の前で喋るの？
ああ、まあ挨拶くらいは。
それっていいの？マキオちゃん、コミュ障。
いや、この人意外とうまいんだよ。私の結婚式のスピーチすっごい
Yeah,
良
I
か
can
った
picture
の。
when she like
離婚したけど。
needs to.
離婚に当てたス
She
ピ
can
ーチ
do
の
it
方
well.
がもっといいこと言える自信がある。
True.
今度聞かせて。
大ファンです。
ありがとう。お名前は？結婚とは醜悪。
These different sides to her.
なんかさ、いや、
なんすか？
あ、なに？もしかして思春期の悩み？お姉さんに聞かせて。
出た。若いエキス衰退妖怪。
いいじゃん。はい。
なんか目立つのっていいこと？悪いこと？
It depends.
私全然目立つキャラじゃ
Yeah,
ない
that's fine.
し、背も伸びないし、声もしてないし、歌詞も書けないし。なのにそんな私が目立とうとするのってやっぱりなんか釣り合ってないっていうか、キャラじゃないっていうか、だからやっぱ悪いことなんじゃないかなって。
キャラどうでもよくない？
お前にでもないな。
あ、やだ、ごめんなさい。つい
くだらないことをと思っちゃって。
Yeah, those thoughts from an adult would
あ、ごめんね。
feel
で
particularly
も
silly.
キャラなんてどうってもいいと思って。それで後悔したから、私は物分かりのいいキャラ、口答えしないキャラ、他人を優先するキャラ、泣きわめいたりしないキャラ、全部後悔したな。だってそんなことばっかり考えてるうちに、自分が本当はどうしたいのか分かんなくなっちゃったんだわ。
Interesting.
だから降りた。朝ちゃん、私はね、
Great shot
あなたが
for
本
that
当
line.
にそうしたい時にそうすべきだと思う。いいじゃん、別に。
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Really.
朝、目立ったせいで誰かに文句を言われたら
New word?
ぶっ殺せ。
New phrase. Very Chad Makio drawing.
ぶっ殺して。
よくないよ。
Don't listen to her yet.
あなたがよく言ってるじゃない。
作家なんだからもう少し言葉選べ。
ああ、八つ咲き。
そういうことじゃなくて。
はいはいはい。じゃあ歌います。
え、歌？
お、なんかわかんないけど、いいぞ。
いつか見た風景、呆然と
Oh,
ずれ見える
it's
流
Edie.
星、いつも見ていたい、過去をつかみ捨てて未来、
She's good.
出会い続けて目をそら、私たちは自分の矛盾にばかりおおらかで、他人の矛盾を許せずにいる。それに気づいたのはずっとずっと後のことだ。多分誰もがそんな風で、そしてきっと私はずっとずっとそれに苦しみ続けるだろう。でもそれは多分そんなに悪いことじゃない。今話したい、
Wow.
愛すべき日が染まり出す、もう自由にもう自由に飛ぶ。はい、終わり。
Wow, what a scene. Wow. That was so good. I wasn't expecting that at all.
マキオちゃんがいなかったら私軽音とかやんなかったかも。てかやんなかった。
それはないでしょう。決めたのはあなたで、どこで誰といても本当にやりたければあなたはそうしたと思うよ。
お父さんとお母さんならなんて言ったかな。
なんだろうね。考えてみれば。
マキオちゃんはさ、マキオちゃんはいつも考えすぎて
Yeah, give it some
し
thought.
んどくないの？
Think about it.
あんたほんと考えすぎ。
歌います。
Yeah, there was no
かもね。
there was no thinking there.
でもどうせなら苦しんで生きたいでしょ。
何言ってるか全然わかんない。
考えろ。
That's great.
それ私の。ああ、取っといたのに。
あ、ごめん、つい。
Oh wow. Again, another quieter ep, very similar to the last two, but this one really culminated into something. I feel like these last three episodes really came together in that scene where Asa began to sing. That really got me. It really caught me off guard, but it really got me. I guess now we know from the opening where she's singing, like, where that's sort of from, I guess. It was really interesting to tap into just some different side characters here. Like this whole this whole sequence here. We get this sequence as well. Someone mentioned it on Twitter, and I think I've sort of said the same thing before as well. How there's a real realism to the way Ikoku Nikki is like shot and drawn in a way that doesn't pander to like hyper realism that you get. I don't think I can really think of a show right now to compare it to in terms of the sort of shows that really try too hard to be realistic, or kind of flaunt it as their like one sort of trait that puts it above other anime. Because I feel like there can be at times with the hyper realism, it can feel a little disrespectful to the medium when it's like trying too hard to not be an anime, if that makes sense. Ikoku Nikki is able to express that realism in a really grounded and genuine way. It doesn't have to show you sort of really detailed character models or like hyper realistic backgrounds that look like photos or stuff like that. It just does. I mean, I've paused on this shot here, and just coincidentally, it's a shot like this. You have the creases in the clothes, the books laid out, the books behind, and that's just visually as well. That's just the visual sort of realism you get from Ikoku Nikki. Is this these sort of small things? That it's not things that jump out or are too like abrasive and in your face that you're like trying to getting hit over the head with the realism. Like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, and then that's just, like I said, that's just the visual. It's just the writing and the general, the way it will transition to flashbacks, the way it taps into other characters, just quieter moments. We get lots of inner monologues as well, rather than characters speaking aloud what they feel. That's a bit of a pet peeve of mine in anime, actually, is when characters speak aloud things that would be so much more natural if they just had it as an inner monologue. It would also save time animating them talking, but Ikoku Nikki does that incredibly well in the writing and just how natural and just grounded it feels. These last 3 episodes in particular, I couldn't really compare them to any anime I've sort of watched in the way it just portrays a life of these characters and them observing each other, them thinking about things, them coming to a conclusion. It's just like these last 3 in particular, as like a group of episodes, just really stand out in like the grand scheme of things and the way it's sort of done. It's really hard to explain, but there's just a completely different feel to these 3 episodes than I feel like we've had before from this series and from anything else I've sort of seen. There's a sort of monotone like feel to it in a positive way. I know that's typically a word used negatively, but I don't know. Just the fact that we're tapping into these sort of characters, we get this whole scene. This scene as well, it is really quite impressive, I think. I've mentioned it before in the reactions, but Ikoku Nikki is really awesome at that. I do enjoy Asa just picking up all these words and phrases from Makio and really trying to think about what they mean. I like this little thing that they have. I assume it's a school thing, like a digital, it's like a calculator for words. I've never seen it before, but it's really cool. I assume it's maybe something for English lessons. Maybe I need them English lessons that they use in Japan. But it's a really cool little device. Yeah, I do enjoy Asa just writing down these words, thinking about them, sort of rolling them around in her head and thinking about their application, their meaning, how Makio used them, even just talking to someone else about them here. I feel is important for her as a potential lyricist and as someone who's just sort of trying to understand these things. Yeah, it looks like it is a thing based on the keyboard here for English lessons. Again, we just get this completely detached response from the dad, and I'm struggling what they're maybe going for with Asa's perspective of her dad here. It feels like maybe it's his way he doesn't stand out at all, in a similar way that maybe Asa's mum does seem to stand out, it feels, to Asa. Asa maybe thinking there's something, like trying to figure out whether there's something wrong with that, her dad not standing out, but it's a weird one because obviously there's a very clear detachment from him towards her, as we sort of kind of gathered from that flashback with the mum, that he's not particularly that committal in this relationship and isn't particularly that invested in this relationship at all. It's really interesting stuff. And then we just get this sort of general like school talk about Valentine's Day, romance, everything like that, getting chocolates. This whole episode, Asa did feel very just simple, not in a insulting ways. It was quite fun seeing her like this. There was a certain freedom to her, the way she's expressing herself around Makio. And we see it sort of, that conclusion being reached when we see her sing in the final scene. That sort of simpleness, that sort of, in contrast to Makio, who likes to think a lot, tells Asa to think a lot, but fundamentally Asa is just this quite straightforward person, just who just expresses how she feels in the moment, who needs to just do what she wants in the moment, do what she feels is right in the moment. Like maybe all this thinking isn't suiting to her, and I don't mean that in an assaulting way at all. Like, it's just some people they're more built to just play things by ear almost, and just do things as they feel in the moment, rather than sort of overthinking things. Again, with Makio, like observing how much he's enjoying his food, it's just these little moments that I think are really interesting. They all serve really well to the grand sort of direction and theme they're going for in these sort of group of episodes here. Yeah, we get this sequence here, which I think was quite interesting. Makio being like, it's okay, and not everyone wants to fall in love, but it's interesting. Yeah, there's no sign of happiness either. And we get a nice little scene of Emery and her. People who don't need romance. Yeah, there are people who don't need romance. It's interesting. Makio does equate love to romance. I don't particularly know what that might mean in the grand scheme of things here, but romance and love are two very different things. Romance is just sort of, I really don't know how to explain it, but I think it's really interesting that Makio equates the two here. Makio especially, it surprises me that she would use romance here in the same way she would as love. Also, I love this line, there isn't a single thing in this world completely irrelevant to you. Really great line. And that can feel quite overwhelming at first for Asa. Like, what? Like, what does that mean? How do I think about that? How do I even interpret that? yeah, we get this shot. Like I said, really reminds me of the one in Look Back after everyone starts talking bad about her drawings, and it kind of, the camera kind of pans out and keeps on panning out, and the classroom gets super big to kind of just. Well, it's used very differently. In the other one in Look Back, it's definitely used as sort of in an overwhelming way, like the talk and the emotions of others becomes too much. But with this one, it feels like Asa's there amongst everyone in a positive way. She's learning that all these people are in one way or another relevant to her. But yeah, I just like that scene. We get this quite a long little end scene here with one of the friends. I did remember recognizing in one of the flashbacks. And we get Asa sort of, in a similar way that she sort of accepted the grief a few episodes ago, we get another sort of like eureka moment from Asa. And it's interesting. This isn't really. This is just. I mean, her character is not gonna be like she's not been in the story, like, but it's just these little interactions between people that you don't expect that can leave an impact on you, like it is going to do with Asa here. And I like Asa just sort of expressing her feelings here as well. She's really vulnerable in this scene. She's like, I'm not getting taller, I don't have a type, I can't write lyrics, I don't have anyone I love or anything I love, and standing out just feels weird. But she's seeing all these people around her that have these passions and these intense feelings that she's unable to feel. And she's envious of that. And I love this part here. We get... I don't know if this is a mistake in the animation. I can just see her right hand here. Unless that is... No, it'd have to be her right hand with the ring on it there. We obviously get the close-up of that ring here. Away from, obviously not in the screen. And then I just want to quickly jump ahead. Maybe it was a bit further back. I think it was here maybe. Oh, maybe I'm tripping. Oh yeah, was it here? He doesn't, unless the ring is, we just can't see it here. I assume so, yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm tripping, but I love this scene of where she's like, yeah, who gives a fuck about all that? I left all that behind after having a lot of regrets about it. And we get the close up of her with the ring. Obviously she's divorced now, but it suggests that maybe she's found someone else and she's much happier now. I can't remember if they talked about it recently in one of the friend group interactions we've seen. I think even... Is there like a really cool detail there on the hand? It might just be the shadow. This line here, obviously showing possibly a marking of an older ring, of the ring that she had with her previous husband, who she broke up with. It's just a really cool way to show that it's absolutely still there, and that whole thing has affected her, but she's moved on with this new ring and this new person in her life. Whether it's another guy, whether it's a girl, whether it's not even anyone at all, it's just sort of something more meaningful to her. It's a cool way just to show that she's moved on from all of that. She's, as she says, she's got off that hamster wheel. She's left this societal pressure and conforming that the show has really talked about a lot. She's now outside of it. I think it's a really cool way to do that, and to have this shot be shown through in like high quality rather than through the screen. Really cool moment there. Really, that landed with me really well. And it really is as simple as I think you should just do what you want and who cares about the rest. I love this as well from Makio. We get the wind blowing. It's like, oh, wow, like I like this idea of her just sort of looking at Makio like, wow, that was really cool. Alongside just being like, wow, like it is as simple as that. That's also just really cool. Like there's that admiration from Asa towards her. And then we get her singing, and she's really good at singing. Props to the VA. I think, like I mentioned before, she's a relatively new VA. This might be her first role, or like something like that. Great singer, as expected. All these VAs are super talented at both voice acting and singing, as expected in Japan. To be fair, with the industry there, but yeah, this is really a beautiful scene. Singing the ED. Yeah, and we get this inner monologue from Asa, also forgiving of our own contradictions, yet showing its sympathy for others. Yeah, and it's confusing for her. And there's obviously very clear romance being established between these two. Really nice. I hope we do get a little bit more of that in the final two episodes. Hope we get a name for her as well, unless they've given it and I've missed it. Really happy for Emery. Love her to bits. What a powerful scene. And I get this is the first time I've seen the lyrics for the ending song as well, so I was kind of like having to read Asa's really important monologue alongside the lyrics about her but it seems just to be in general about her sort of realising and becoming free and opening herself up to these things and these realizations. Really cool stuff. Really great episode. Oh, man, only 2 episodes left now. I do wonder what we're really going to explore in these last 2 now. It's certainly not the point that Asa's like come to terms with everything and has experienced like epiphany and realised everything like all makes sense now. Obviously not, but Asa's made huge steps in this episode in particular. And I do wonder where we're gonna be going in these last 2. Whether it might be Makio focused, maybe. I'm not too sure, but Asa feels like she's in a really good place now. A really good place. I feel like, as in the lyrics, she's free. She's kind of not bound by these feelings and thoughts she's having as much anymore. She's able to just kind of give in to her whims and say how she feels, do what she wants. It is interesting compared to Makio, who thinks very hard about these things, who likes to ruminate on them and think about them and toss them about in her head. Asa, who has been doing that this whole time, maybe doesn't need to sort of live in that way. It's just not who she is, and that's fine as well. But yeah, great 2 episodes, especially this one. This one really landed really well with me. Lots of really good lines, strong direction, and a really emotional sort of realization for us at the end with the singing and having that link to the OP, having her sing the ED, getting the lyrics for that, getting a really fantastic inner monologue. Really just some amazing stuff in general from Ikoku Nikki. As expected, this show is just on a different level to a lot of stuff. Not just now at the moment, but in general. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for episode 12, and then one more week, and then we'll be done. Thank you guys.